In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Christos Anesti, Alisos Anesti, Christ is risen, truly He is risen, and Masih qam, بالحقيقة قام. We'll continue the series of the way. It has been a long journey during this quarantine time, and we reached a good couple of very important steps in the way, because Christ is said about Himself, and we will read this tomorrow in the Gospel of St. John in Sunday liturgy. I am in John 14, chapter 6, verse 6, chapter 14, verse 6. I am the way, the life, and the truth. No one can come to the Father except by me, or except through me. And we covered the path, we covered the journey from the beginning, the life of repentance, humility, confession, communion. We covered also a big topic of the purity, and we covered anger in maybe 7 or 6 or 5 or 6 sessions. And today we'll cover a very important aspect of our spiritual life, that sometimes it's very small member of our body, but can go really in the negative form or in the negative path. We'll speak about the tongue, or el-lisan, and our words and what we say in our speech. All of us have, not related to richness or poverty, the source of happiness or misery, a magnifying lens that shows us the heart from within, and this is the tongue. This is what we say. What we say is revealing the heart, as if you open a window and you see with a magnifying lens what is really in the heart. لأن من فضلة القلب يتكلم اللسان. From the abundance of what is inside of the heart, the tongue will be speaking, or the words the person will be uttering these words. So the words is a very tough member in our body. The tongue is an arrow shot out, as if it is a deadly arrow. It speaks deceit. One speaks peaceably on his neighbor with his mouth, but in his heart he lies in wait, as it says in Jeremiah 9:8. It's like an arrow that is shot. You cannot return it back. You cannot bring the arrow back. What you say, you cannot retrieve it back. You can try to manipulate things. You can say, no, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it. I really didn't mean it. But unfortunately, the tongue is a very important aspect of our life, and you will find that what we say is really determining a lot of things. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. بكلامك تبرر وبكلامك تدان. By your words we will be justified, and by our words we will be condemned. So the power of our words in our life is really strong. What you say to people, what you say even about yourself, what you say to yourself to justify stuff that you are doing, all of this is related to the tongue. So the gift of speech that God is giving me and each one of us is a big deal. One of the philosophers once said that humans are speaking animals, and the most important characteristics which distinguish us from animals is the ability of speech. We thus view the speech as a great gift from God, which God specified man with this gift. St. Gregory the theologian, in his amazing liturgy for القداس الغرغوري, it says, you granted me the gift of speech. أعطيتني موهبة النطق. It's a gift of speech. It's a gift from God. that we are able to speak, and we are able to say, and we are able to express ourselves, and we are able to connect, and we are able to disconnect, and we are able to build, and we are able to destroy, and we are able to praise God, and we are able to cuss and say bad words. All of this is through the tongue, or from our words. Truly, it is a great gift from God that we are able to speak. And also, if you have any people who are mute or some, or they cannot speak, it's very, very tough. And when you have a kid who's delayed in speech, it breaks the heart of the family and the mom and the dad, and they keep trying their best that the kids will be able to speak, because it is very, very important for us to express what is inside of us. By our words, we can be praying, we can be chanting, we can be praising, we can be teaching, and we can be advising others, and we can communicate and connect with others. There is a lot of things that we can do with our speech, with our words. It is a very small member in the body. God created it for a very vital and important task in our life. The rest of the members in their activity performing the jobs of life, but the tongue is really exposing and showing what is in the heart. It has two functions: to taste definitely the food, and the lips and the vocal part of it. And when we talk about the sins of the tongue, we mean the speech which comes out of the person and is considered a sin. A foul language, or wrongdoing, or bad mouthing of others, and so forth. The list of the sins of the tongue is very, very long. The tongue is a two-edged sword, or a weapon with two edges. By one edge you can do something good, and by the other edge you can hurt yourself for a long time. St. John el-Daragi said this: the silence of Jesus astonished Pontius Pilate, but a word Peter uttered made him weep bitterly. When Christ was silent in front of Pilate, this really astonished Pilate. But a word that Peter said made him weep bitterly, because he denied the Lord Jesus Christ. The challenge of the tongue and the words is: out of the same mouth proceeds blessing and cursing, as it says in the book of James chapter 3. If you are struggling with the sins of tongue, or you are struggling with what you say, go to James chapter 3 and try to memorize this chapter. It's a beautiful chapter. It's a very beautiful chapter. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. In Proverbs chapter 18, a wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. A wholesome or a kind tongue is a tree of life. شجرة حياة. اللسان الطيب شجرة حياة. As if you are giving people a gift. And it is amazing. I recall a departed Abuna, a very, very beloved Abuna, that his tongue was so sweet. His words are always sweet. If he sees a person, the first thing he asks him about his name, and he start creating a small rhyming poem about the name of the person. It's unbelievable. Then he asks you about your name, he starts responding and start saying whatever is going as a poem, a very nice poem in the name of the person. And one time there was a big problem in one of the church hierarchy in the church, and this person, leader in the church, was very, very upset because something happened from some immature Christians in the church, and people were divided, and it was very, very tough situation. And this church leader spoke with this Abuna, and Abuna told him, they are all your children, my father, they are all your children, and we are all your children, so don't count us as if one of your kids has insulted you or did something bad to you. Try to forgive them, because they are all in the end your kids or your children. A blow on a spark to make it glow, or a spit on it to put it out, but both results come from the mouth. So something that is very, very beautiful that will inspire people, or something that is very bitter that will hurt or put people down. Those are honor and shame come from the speaking, and man's tongue may be his downfall. Honor and shame can come from speaking, and man's tongue may be his downfall. We spoke about anger, and we spoke about how anger can destroy people, but also what you say is very powerful. What you say to the people around you is very powerful. If you keep insulting people, putting them down, calling them names, not believing in them, not having, thinking that they can aspire anything in life, all of this is you are destroying the personality of the people, especially if you have kids around you. Honor or shame can come through speaking, and man's tongue may be his downfall. Can be our downfall, the tongue, what we say and how we communicate with people. And sometimes there are people whom everyone around you is speaking very highly of, and you don't know what's good in this person, but when you see this person, very, very sweet words is coming out of his mouth or her mouth. Very wise, very genuine, very honest, very supportive, very positive. It's unbelievable. I recall one day I played a recording of words that are negative. You are a failure, you are a loser, you will never achieve anything in life. You a lot of lists of negative things. And I paused the recording and I asked the people, how do you feel? Everybody felt disgusted, everybody felt very bad, down, broken. It was very hard. And I played the opposite recording of praising. You are great, you will achieve a lot, God loves you, everlasting life, you are one of a kind, you are a beloved son and daughter of God, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world, you are the children of God that will bring back glory to the kingdom of heaven. You are on a positive level. And they ask the people, how do you feel? It's completely different thing. So what you say is really have a very strong impact on the people who are around you. I'm not claiming to be not to have a problem with the words, because we all of us can fall and can start saying, or if you are really angry and mad, if you remember what I shared with you, when the feelings is going up, the mind is not able to control things, and here when things can be destructive. Were not the few words which the sinner, the tax collector, prayed, cause of his acceptance by God, and he went to his house justified? Do you remember the story of the tax collector? Luke chapter 18. If you go back to the Gospel of Luke chapter 18, because this is a very remarkable situation where, and also he spoke this parable for people who trusted themselves. Luke chapter 18 verse 9, that they were righteous and despised others. So God is targeting those who are trusting in themselves, and they were thinking that they are righteous, and they are putting down or righteous and despising others. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust adulterers, or even as this tax collector who is there in the end. I fast twice a week, I give tithe of all what I possess. And the tax collector, this is what the prayer of the Pharisee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. He said 30 words. The Pharisee, his prayer was 30 words around. And he was bragging, he was putting himself in front of the other tax collector because he is a Pharisee and he's righteous. And the tax collector standing afar off would not as much as able to raise his eyes to heaven, but he beat his chest and said, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. So in one sentence, in 5 or 6 words, the prayer of this righteous man or sinner went all the way to God. The Lord is saying, I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. The tax collector went home justified, not the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humble, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. It is the short prayer of this tax collector. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Ya Rab, arhamni ana al-khati. This is all what he said. And he was justified. It is not with the length of prayer, with the long, elaborate things that we say. God looks to the heart. And someone who's saying 30 words, at least four sentences, in them he is judging others and putting them down and trusting in himself and boasting about his achievement, while the other one is, God, have mercy upon me, a sinner. Be merciful to me, a sinner. And the Lord is speaking about how strong, and this small prayer, short prayer, few words that has been mentioned, that saved this person. He went outside in the presence of God justified. The right thief, what did the right thief do or say? Remember me, O Lord, when you come into your kingdom. 7 words. And with the 7 words, he was able to see God in the paradise and to be the first to be entering in the paradise with the Lord. It's amazing how the words is revealing what is inside, and how the words is making a big difference. What you say is making a big difference. That's why they have verbal or face-to-face interviews in many of the things in the hiring positions, in picking people for certain job. It is very important to interact with the person and to see how they are speaking. So in the book of Luke chapter 18, it's very important, very remarkable story about how strong is the power of very short words, but was from the heart, it was genuine, and he blamed himself and he told God, have mercy upon me, a sinner. Did not the words of the atheist woman of Canaan cause the Lord to have compassion on her? In the book of Matthew chapter 15, when she told him, even the little dogs are eating from the crumbs that is falling from their master's table. It was just few words that made the Lord make this great miracle and heal her daughter. What we say is very powerful. What we say is very powerful. The power of your words can let us not be judged in front of God, because with your words you will be justified, and with your words will be condemned. We read in the history of the children of Israel a very unique story in the book of Judges chapter 12. Judges chapter 12. This is, there was men from Gilead, they fought against Ephraim. And the men of Gilead defeated Ephraim. So the people of Gilead, this is not the company Gilead of the pharmaceutical company, no, this is something different in the book of Judges. And the Gilead seized the area in beside the river of Jordan, and the people from Ephraim, or the Ephraim tribe, they lost. And when the people from Ephraim, they started escaping, they said, let us cross over the river. And the men of Gilead would say to them, are you an Ephraimite? And if they said no, we are not Ephraimite, because they didn't know if they are from the people that they conquered or not. So they will ask them, say Shibboleth. And if the person is saying Sibboleth, not Shibboleth, and instead of SH, they say S only. So they cannot pronounce the other word, the other letter. for they could not pronounce it right, and they would take him and kill him. And in that time, 42,000 of the Ephraimites, they lost their life because of word, because of a word that they cannot, or a letter they are pronouncing wrong. Because they know that those people in this area, in this culture, they cannot pronounce the name correctly. It's a very dramatic story, but it tells you that with just one letter that you cannot utter or you cannot say, it can have an impact on you. One word a person say may cause him a misfortune, trouble, and death. And how many times the Jews collected were around the Lord to catch him with a word so as to accuse him. You said this, then you are doing this, accusing just him with a word. And the scary part for me personally is that all what we say will be exposed. Every idle word we say will be in front of everyone. It's like will be like a movie show, big movie show that, or a big movie about my life will be presented in front of millions of zillions of people, and everything I said will be exposed. ما تقولون في قلوبكم ينادى به على السطوح. Whatever you are saying in your inner room, في مخادعكم ينادى به على السطوح, in your inner room, it will be called out from the housetop, from the top of the house. So it will be public. Everything you say, it will be public. Every word we say, it will be public. It will be known. So it is a very powerful tool that we all are struggling with. And I tell you something, one of the best things I learned, if you cannot say something positive, don't speak. If you cannot say something that will add some value to the person, don't speak. Because when we speak, when we are bitter, when we speak, when we are angry, when we speak, when we are down, when we speak, when we are not in the good mood, usually our words is very bad. And usually it hurts, and it is like the arrow that you cannot control. When we review the life of man since the creation, we found that it fell because of his tongue and its wrong usage of the tongue. The serpent spoke to Eve and deceived her, and it turns to deceive her husband. It was also by words. And when God spoke to Adam in the paradise about his disobedience, he started accusing God. And he told him, it is the woman that you gave me. It is not my problem, it is your problem. And our words is sometimes it is very hurtful. And it is important to sit with ourselves, slow down, and really examine what we say. And ask people around you who are close, and ask them, what do you think about the way I speak? Do you think that sometimes I'm offending you? Do you think that sometimes I'm hurting people who are around you? Do you think that sometimes I'm not saying the right thing? What can I do? How can I change? How can I change this? And when you deal with people who have a very nice demeanor and very sweet with their words, it lifts up the people that they are around them. There is a famous story I will end with about Saint Macarius the Great. Saint Macarius had his disciple, one of the monks was with him, and he told them, they were walking down the very early in the morning, and Saint Macarius wanted to take like a quiet time on his own. So he told his disciple, you go and proceed before me. So he started speeding, maybe like before him with 1 mile or 2 miles, so as Saint Macarius will take his time. And the disciple of Saint Macarius is walking down the street in the way, and he is seeing a priest who's worshipping idols, an atheist, like as if a satanic worshipper. So I told him, you will be anta halik la mahala, or something like this. You will be destroyed no matter what you do. You are going to hell. To this monk who is disciple of Saint Macarius. So the priest who was worshipping idols was strong, had a strong body. He started beating up this monk severely, and he left him between life and death because he told him, you are heading to destruction. And the priest worship idols is moving and walking. So he meet Saint Macarius. And Saint Macarius looked to the priest who was worshipping the idols. قال له السلام لك يا رجل النشاط. Peace be with you. You are man of. You are an energetic and active man because you are waking up very early. So he couldn't believe the difference, and he went to Saint Macarius. He told him, I just beat up a guy or someone who is related to you because he's having almost the same outfit like you, because he just insulted me. And he did a litania to Saint Macarius and told him, I'm so sorry, please teach me how to live the life that you are living. And he from being atheist, worshipping idols, priest of worship, of idol worshippers, to be a Christian, to be baptized and to be a monk and live a righteous life all his life, just with one word that Saint Macarius told him, just praising his activity and his energy. Unbelievable. And they ran all the way to the monk that has been beaten up to save him or to carry him and give him the medical help that he was in need of. But it was just a word that can change the life of people. May God give us to know that our words will determine, by our words we will be justified, and by our words will be condemned. And let us hold fast and stand in front of God and evaluate what we say, and offer repentance and ask God for forgiveness, and ask God to create in us a clean heart, so as when the heart is clean, our words will be more positive, will be more encouraging, will be more pure, will be more holy, will be more honoring God, will be more supportive of others, will be more kind, will be more compassionate, will be more supportive, will be more appreciative, will be more thankful, other than all the negative things, to whom is the glory forever and ever. Amen. Tomorrow is Sunday. We'll not have a live streaming on Sunday. We'll resume back on Monday, 5:30. In the weekend, only on Saturday, we'll make it late. May God bless you, and please pray for me, and stay safe.